Howdy, everybody. I'll tell you what, been a day. At least everything seems to be working at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and say hello to everybody. And I'll tell you what's been going on. And boy, is that a mouthful. Let's see, who got the super hot cookie? Looks like Derek Alexander got it. Good to see you here, Derek. And that big steam guy, otherwise known as Thomas, the Spike Man, he got the half cookie. How you doing, Thomas? Good to see you here. Let's see, who else there? John Nippenberg, Landmark Yards. John, good to see you here. Let's see who else we got here. Tom Grassi. Hey, Tom, good to see you. Glad you're here. Chuck Schreiber. Hey, Chuck, good to see you here. Skull Crow River Valley. John, happy birthday, man. Good to see you here. Let's see, do we got anybody else? Rick's Trades. Hey, Rick. Good to see you here, man. Glad your surgery went well. Hope you get well real fast, man. Joe Rader, Black Rock Central. Hey, Joe. Good to see you here. And that's everybody, believe it or not. So, it's been one of those days, man. Get my camera straightened out here. Other way. There we go. I'll tell you what. First, I couldn't get the overlays to work. I don't know what happened. They just stopped working. Now they're working again. Go figure. You probably noticed had some issues with the cameras freezing up periodically. I don't know what's going on with that. Except maybe because I had the cameras on all day, maybe they're starting to heat up. So maybe next time I'll start the cameras much later in the day. Worth a shot. If not, I may have to take Tom Grassi's advice and go to StreamYard. Maybe this OBS is not working out for me anyway. I don't know. It's really pissing me off, though. Of course, the trains, I've got issues with them, too. I found the old power supply, plugged it back in, because the one I was using was dying anyway. I did a voltage check. It's supposed to be 15 volts at 5 amps. Well, it's 10 volts at about 2 amps. So it's on its way out. I looked to see what a new one would cost. That same one, $74. They have a 20 amp one. That's real nice and would allow for future expansion. They want over $200 for that one. So I'm telling you, it's just getting nuts. So I don't know. Like I said, I can only buy so much because I only have so much money to play with, you know. And I can only run one train, one main. If I try and run the second main, it runs for a little while and then the juice drops down and it won't power the second locomotive. He said it starts out good, but then after about 10 laps, it just dies. Go figure. So, like I said, I've got my issues here. I will get them straightened out eventually. I thought I might even consider buying an off-brand power supply, but I don't know. I could find a 20 amp up to 30 volts, which only need 15 anyway, but I've seen power supplies on Amazon. They're like 40 bucks. They're big units with gauges and all on them, but I don't know. I'm leery about buying them. So I don't know. Actually, I did, Rick, and they're about the same, if not more, than Amazon. Can you believe it? This is my rant. I was going to engrave a railroad spike made from brass, $350 to $5,000. Well, yeah, that stuff's not cheap, man. For that price, you might as well buy your own engraver and do it yourself. Well, a good laser engraver will cost you about $3,000 on up. But if you had to spend that much money, just soon buy the damn laser. You can use it over and over again. Now, welcome to the real world. Everything is getting ridiculously expensive. It's crazy. I don't know if you guys follow. Well, probably not, but of course it's hard to tell who the lurkers are. But Tom's Trading Things on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Rumble. He's been having problems with his computer as well. So it turns out he had to replace the video card. And after he did that, his HDMI card went bad, maybe. Hopefully he's got it straightened out. I haven't talked to him since yesterday, but he checked to see what a new one would cost. He paid $400 for the one that's in there now. The same exact card, same model number and everything, is now $651. That's how prices have gone up. It's ridiculous. I'm glad I didn't go with HDMI because I would have probably spent something like $1,000 between the cameras and the card. This is crazy. Captain Ray, how you doing, Ray? Good to see you here. So, I think the PoE was probably my best bet. But now I may be having issues with that too. Well, I don't know because once again, the PoE rather, it goes through the router for Starlink. Now, at the very beginning, I was having I wasn't getting good signal through Starlink. Only for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I don't think it had anything to do with the trains freezing up, on the screen. But it could have, so I don't know. Like I said, it's just one damn thing after another. It's possible I may need a new video card. I bought this video card 6 years ago. It's a cheap Chinese knockoff. It's an 8 gig card. And it runs, pretty sure it runs AMD software through it, but, it's old. And to replace it's going to probably set me back, close to $400. I got a deal on that one, but that was 6 years ago. I think I paid $178 for it. So, it's crazy. It's getting too damn expensive to do anything anymore. What are you going to do, right? So, in the rest of the computer, I got a new motherboard, new RAM, new power supply. I went from a 650 watt power supply to an 1100 watt power supply. So I know I'm not, getting shorted on power. So the only possibility is maybe the CPU could be going bad, but it's a Ryzen, so I don't think it is. Or it's more than likely the video card. And I've tried overclocking and it won't let me do it, so. That's probably going to be on the list in the next couple of months, hopefully. I'm telling you, just can't fucking win. So anyway, I'm running the printer back there. You probably see it working. I'm building another one of these. Parts cabinet. I'm on the last 2 drawers are being printed now. And I've got so many small things that need to go into the shelves, Like I had these, I forgot I even had these. They were Ziploc baggies hanging on the wall behind some other stuff. And I don't know how well you can see that. But there's crates and barrels and pylons. Something I got from a Chinese company. I bought them years ago. Forgot I had them. Got a wheelbarrow in there, a couple wheelbarrows. All kinds of little stuff. Now I know that where they're at. They're in the drawers. So now, of course, what I want to do is I've got to get my new workbench. Like I said, I've seen them. I don't know if they're ever going to go on sale. Wife thinks they'll go on sale July 4th. So I'm going to hold off until buying one until then. But if they don't, I'll pay the $159 for it and be done with it. Because if they don't go on sale by then, they're not going to. Unless, of course, Murphy's Law kicks in, and right after I buy one, they go on sale. It's always some bullshit thing, you know. So, but I'm going to get one next month, one way or the other. I'd like to get one on sale, because they usually go on sale for $129, which is a lot better than $159, but, you know. Jim, I'm working on your locomotive. I painted it in CSX GP9. Okay. That's cool. Although, I'm probably going to repaint it anyway. Because pretty much all the new stuff, anything I get new, I'm going to put in the blue and silver paint scheme for the Millennium County stuff. I haven't really started much on anything yet, but I plan on doing it at some point. I did add an extra track to my yard, and I've got room for one more, and I didn't think I did, but there's enough turnouts there where I could have added two. I added one, I'm going to add another one. And I've got a lot of rolling stock up there. And I got this short video I can show you of actually what I've done in the last couple of days. It's only a couple of minutes long here. Check it out. Hey everybody, Jim Tedesco here with Millennium County Railroad version 3.0. I almost fucked up myself there, didn't I? Anyway, we're doing a little print today. Printing another little parts cabinet. They're doing the drawers right now. And I printed another paper towel holder. And I also moved the sink over. So there's a little bit more gap between the spray booth and the sink. So we got that out of the way. And regarding the layout, don't mind the shakiness, it's hard to walk, you know that. If I can get this up there, be able to see it. I also finished, I actually added another track in, and I've got my cars organized on the yard, most of them. I can still put another track in, so I might do that on another day or two. In the meantime, I'm starting to clean up things. Well, somewhat anyway. So, it's getting there, but it takes time. And I seem to have a lot of time lately, so, well, as much as I can need anyway. So, that's it. Just wanted to show that off. Got this area cleaned up pretty good. I also got rid of the table, too, that was there. So, we're getting close. I'm pretty sure next month I'm going to pick up another workbench. Even if I have to pay full price for it, because I really need it to fill this area in. So we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more. Hey everybody, Jim. Well, there you have it. So just a short. I actually doing that extra because I had to take everything off the yard. They had to do track in. I think I can add that last track without removing anything. I had to use a little step stool to get up, so I can reach everything. So I could put the new track and just slide it in place, probably glue it down, and then, took it up and then glue it down. That's basically what I did with that one. So that'll get. I think that'll give me 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll give me six sidings, or whatever you call them. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm making progress. It's very slow, but it's something. And Thomas said, Jim, would it be cool? You got a metal 3D. Nah, man, I'll tell you what. A metal 3D printer, thousands of dollars. And then probably whatever they use for filming or however it works, probably also costs hundreds of dollars. It'd be cheaper just to buy a ready-made locomotive than it would be to print one. So no, I'm not going to do that. I can make plastic shells all day long. But the problem, of course, is you still need a metal chassis and a motor and the decoder and all that. So it's really not worth printing locomotives. Rolling stock, absolutely. A locomotive, probably not at this time. Especially when you can get, DC models relatively cheap, and you could convert them over. That's what I'm going to do. I've got a couple of DC models here that I'll convert to DCC, probably even with sound. We'll see. Chuck says nothing wrong with small steps. Well, that's about the only steps I can do anyway. It's going to have to do. But get that microphone a little closer here. Is that better? It's something. Like I said, the weather's been weird here. It's been raining a lot. It's been hot as hell when it's not raining. And my sleep patterns are all messed up. I'll go to bed at midnight, wake up at 4 or 5, stay up for an hour or two, go back to bed, 7, and then sleep till 10. So it's messed up. Hey Ray, how you doing? Good to see you here, man. So, things are a little weird right now, but that's okay. Like you said, I am getting some things accomplished. And probably pretty soon, I want to make room for my wife to do her glass and jar factory. I know she's been itching to do it. I've seen a BLI DCC steam locomotive for $500. I saw one for $850, a big boy. The BLI. Yeah, they're out of their fucking minds. It was DCC and sound and had smoke too, but $850, not happening. So, like I said, I have one steam. Well, I technically have 2 steamers. The BLI is DCC and sound. I want to change the decoder in that at some point. The number 148, which is supposed to resemble the real one on the sugar line, it's basically ready to go. I just got to get a decoder and sound card for it. So that'll happen at some point too, but I'm not sure when. So I still got to run the line for it too, the track. And I haven't even really started on it, so I built the bridge work, but that's it. So like I said, there's so many things that need to be done. I wanted to get 2 more cameras next month, but not sure if I'm going to or not. I may wait on them. I'm not so sure that the video card can handle the strain. if that's what it is. $1,500. Yeah, well, that's worse than $850. So that's just ridiculous money. I'm not paying that kind of money for nothing. I don't care if it. I wouldn't even pay that money for live stream, man. I mean, I just wouldn't do it. To me, it's a waste. It's a hobby, not a. See how fast I could go bankrupt. Fucking hobby, So. I mean, my locomotives, I've got some problems. Like I said, I got the 2-scale trains, ES44s. I'm having issues with them. I may have to put new decoders in them because they're just not running right. Motor's fine. They sounds pretty good, but it's just not running properly. So, hey Dwight, man, good to see your hat. You're in one piece. I didn't have your. I don't think I have your email address, but I was watching the news to make sure you didn't get hit with a tornado. Apparently, you did not, which is good. I know a lot of destruction up where you live. Anyway, I'm glad you're safe, man. So, Lionel Big Boy 3000, yeah, I'll bet. I'm saying, it's just, I like my hobby. I like playing with trains, but there are limits to what I'm willing to spend for something. Broadway Limited Imports has stupid prices there. Well, they're really, I mean, I'm not a real big fan of Paragon 4, but they do have nice looking locomotives, a lot of highly detailed, and when the decoders work right, they're really good, but problem is they don't always work right. Tom says, Jim, I run 8 cameras on my software and I just have a standard video card and the laptop shows all 8 with no issues. Also, I do not think it's your video card. It may not be, Tom. Maybe it's OBS. Thinking maybe next week I might try StreamYard again. I just got to figure out how to put this stuff on the StreamYard. I mean, I know you could switch cameras out, but I'm not sure. I'll figure it out. But I'm going to try it. If it does make a difference, I may switch over to StreamYard all the ways around. I wouldn't be happy about it, but hey, I got to do what works. So, Derek says, Dwight, how are the Dorothy, Toto, the Lion, the Scarecrow? He wasn't in Kansas to begin with, that Derek. So, Derek, they're all happy. Good evening, Dwight. It's the weather's still good. Yeah, the weather's been weird, man. They're still trying to convince us that there's a hurricane down there off of Texas. I don't believe it. I think it's a thunderstorm. But yes, I do have 2 monitors on there, Tom. That's why I said, well, my video card will handle up to 3 monitors. But I'm running the big 40-inch Vizio and the 13-inch Acer. And really the only thing I use the Acer for is I put the PoE cameras on the program, and then I can do a screen capture to put it in OBS. So wait, says Illinois is with the tornado. Yeah, I know they said it moved, which really sucks. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the hell's going on. We really are in the end times biblically. Or they're doing this stuff and trying to convince us that it's the end times. I'm not sure which. Good deal, Dwight. You got your whole layout balanced today. It'll be a while before I get around to doing mine. I started to, and then I backed down because I said, I better wait until I get everything where I want it. Because once I ballast, I'm not moving tracks. And I'm still kind of fooling around a little bit with, track placement and shit. So can't believe it's June 18th already. Hey, tomorrow's Juneteenth for you black folk out there. June 19th. Yeah, time's flying by. I don't know what's going on. Tom says, Jim, okay then, in the StreamYard, you would just share out the other screens. That what I do, then you can have the cameras and yourself on the show. That's true, I could. And that's what I wanted to do with OBS, but I haven't quite figured out how to integrate that yet. I mean, it can't be that hard, but I'm sure it can be done. I just haven't gotten around to fooling around with it, but I'll see what happens. I would even pay for StreamYard for what's so ridiculously expensive. It used to be cheap. It was like $10 a month. Now it's like $80 a month, which is ridiculous. I ain't paying that much, but I could do the free one. It's not much different. So we'll see. I mean, if it works out better, then yeah, I'll probably just go with that for a while. Chuck says, like you, Jim, every day's a holiday. Yeah, kind of. I don't know. Sometimes I wish I was still working. I'd be making real money, but yeah, it is what it is. My wife wants to go back to work. I said, I don't think so. I think you're full of it. She goes, no, really, I want to go back to work. I said, well, yeah, go ahead if you want. I don't care. But I just don't see it, to be honest with you. The way she cries about doing housework, I don't see her doing real work. So we'll see, but that's the only bitch about, retirement is that you got a lot of time on your hand. That's why you need a hobby. I've talked about this a million times, so I'm not going to talk about it again, but, as long as you got something to keep you occupied, you're good to go. Every day is Friday, kind of. Every day's a holiday, one or the other. I mean, like I said, the good news is, if I wake up at 10, it's no big deal. I don't miss work. If I wake up at 9, same deal. If I wake up at 6, I don't really follow a schedule anymore. Just whatever happens then. So I go, why are you waking up so early? Hell, I don't know. The other night I woke up at 4 in the morning. Stayed up till 7. And went back to bed and slept till 10. I don't know. I don't really give a shit, I mean, the only time it would suck is if, sometimes I'd like to come out here early, but that almost never happens. Usually by the time I get out here, it's 11, 12 o'clock. And so I got like literally half a day to do whatever, but, because I get up in the morning, first thing I do is I turn the computer on, I look to see what the local bullshit news is, and whatever else is happening around the world and around the corner. And then I have my greens drink, my hot tea, my water, half a bagel, and take my pills and my insulin injection. That wraps up my morning. And some mornings, of course, I take a shower, so that takes time, and it's just, that's my day, man. Then I come over here and putz around with whatever I can, and when I'm done, I close up and go home and watch TV till midnight. Derek says, Big Jim, start printing reefers and tank cars and sell them, make some extra cash. You could even sell your drawers and paint holders. That's not a bad idea. I should probably look into that. Maybe set myself up another eBay store, I've been with eBay for a long time. I think like 22 years or something. But I haven't really sold anything on eBay in forever. So maybe I should come up with an eBay store and just stop spending. If I stop spending, Dwight, nothing would get done at all. You know. I mean, it's unfortunate, but you got to have certain things. There's some things that I can't, you know, shit out. And I mean, you got to actually buy something. Even printing costs you money. You still got to buy the filament and, you know, anything else that might go along with it. Exactly, Chuck. He is asking too much. Tom says, Jim, you would need one or two more A1s to do that. If I wanted to do in volume, yes. But I wouldn't necessarily have to do that. I mean, there are guys that are making 3D stuff that is basically, you know, you put in your order. It's like a pre-order. And then he'll make it, and when it's done, he'll send it to you after you pay him. So I could do that on a similar thing. I know it sucks. But, you know, I mean, at best, I could... You could sell them to your subscribers without Evil Bay and no 1099. That would be the way to do it. Because, I mean, that's true. I probably would get taxed on it, but, you know, you pay no matter what. I mean, I don't know. I'll have to look into it, you know. I'll print up a couple at some point and say, all right, this is what I got. You know, is it worth $15 or whatever, you know. I don't have to make a ton of money on any of it, but as I'm saying, I don't understand how a box car can cost the same as a flat car, you know, or a gondola. They should be three separate prices for three separate types of, you know, vehicles. Same with tankers. Tankers should cost more than probably all of them because there's more involved in producing a tanker. I'll tell you, now that I got the drill press in there, I've been using it mostly for brackets and stuff, but I'll be using it, like, I got this chassis here for one of my box cars, and after I filled in the big holes in there, now I could take the drill press and get a perfectly centered hole for the truck mounts. And that's why I brought the drill press in here, because like I said, I could use it here and go that way. Well, I've made some money too, Dwight. I mean, I've sold a lot of stuff already, you know, off the books. But I've, you know, printed cars, trucks, some train cars, you know, rolling stock. So, yeah, I mean, I printed stuff and, you know, sold it, and I could do more of it. I kind of got away from it because, once again, if it interferes with my hobby, that's not really a good thing. Tom says my arm is my drill press. Well, mine used to be. I mean, I've had that press for, when the hell did I buy that thing? I think I bought it right after I moved up here. It's a desktop one, small one. But it's nice because the thing with your arm is, I don't care how steady you are, you're not always going to get a good center hole. You know. So with the drill press, once you line it up, you come down, it's going to be dead center. That's why I wanted to bring the press in here, because I had it out in the garage, but I don't want to run over there to drill two fucking holes and come back here, and, you know. Now it's right here, so that was kind of my plan for a long time, was to get that stuff in here, you know. Same thing, I got that little table saw like you've got, and I've got it under the bench. I don't have a place to put it on top yet, but, you know, who knows? I mean, I'll probably find a way to do it. Or maybe I'll put it out here when I get the workbench up. I don't know, you know. That's another issue too. I don't really have room to put any more A1s in. Unless I actually put them in the garage and set them and forget them type deal. Which that could be done too, because I've got bench work in the garage, and all I got to do is clean it off because it's a mess. I don't know, like I said, we'll see what happens, but if there's any real money to be made in it, and I don't think there is, but if there was, I would buy a couple more A1s and expand my ability to produce stuff. Like I said, it all depends upon how good of a rail car I can build, how detailed it is, and the cost. Keep the cost down, And so if I made $5 profit on each unit, I'd be happy with that. If I made 10, that'd be better. But, what it actually costs to make one, well, the shell is nothing. The chassis is nothing because it's all plastic. You can print all that. I print my own trucks, and they're just as good as the ones you buy. And you have to buy would be the Katy couplers and draft boxes and the wheels. I put metal wheels on all of them. So let's see, couplers are probably the most expensive thing. But if you buy in bulk, they get a little cheaper. I think realistically, we probably would spend less than $8 on wheels and couplers and draft boxes per unit. Actual price of the plastic is probably $1, if even, depending what you're making. You can stack those? Yeah, I guess you could, but that'd be kind of weird. Like I said, I would just put, I'd put the other ones out in the garage and I could run them from here, But, I said I'd probably sell I could sell a box car for probably $20. And probably come up with a $10 profit margin, which isn't bad, And let's face it, $20 for a box car, not bad. Probably get 25 for a tanker. Once again, almost anything I build is going to cost me $8 in wheels, couplers, and draft boxes. So I probably want to go up a little bit more on a tanker, and of course, flat cars and gondolas. A flat car I could probably sell for $13, $14. And the gondola is probably the same price. There's not much difference between the two. And again, too, you got to paint them. Well, you can go two ways with them. If you sold them unpainted and undecorated, you could get cheaper, that's where you get the cheap prices. Now, if you want an elaborate paint job on it and decaling, that would add to the cost. And I'd rather not do that. I'd rather sell them as, bare equipment, and then you decorate it the way you want. Paint it and decorate it. I don't know. Joe Rader says, I just got 3 box cars from Jack from Accurail at $22 each. That's a good price. Like I said, it'd be kind of hard to beat that. And Accurail makes a nice box car too. Question: do they print them by the or mold them by the thousands? Probably. So realistically, they can afford to sell this stuff a lot cheaper then. What I just see, Rapido wanted. It was $46 for a box car for HO. And N scale is the same price. And I can't figure that one out either. They're undecorated? Okay. So, like I said, I think I could probably compete with the big guys a little bit. I don't know. I think if you had a good model, like I said, Katy couplers, metal wheels, Katie draft boxes, and the rest is, like I said, I could design a lot of that stuff too. The box cars, the gondolas, whatever. So, I don't know, it's something to look into. And the only reason I would be willing to do it is because it would help finance my hobby. Because like I said, I'm not getting any money from the, YouTube or anything. I'm qualified, almost qualified to be monetized. But like Tom Grassi, I don't have the watch hours. I think the last time I looked at 524 or 542, I don't remember which. Subs, you only need 500. But I don't have the watch hours, and personally, I don't really give a shit. That's reasonable big gym, especially with Katie's and metal wheels. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to do them, they should do them right. But they would definitely be undecorated. Now, I could do a base paint job on them, with no road numbers or road names or anything like that. And that I wouldn't even have to charge extra for that because that'd be easy enough to do. But yeah, if you wanted I did a bunch for less. What was that? We and Us. I can't even remember what the hell the name of his channel was. We and Us something. And the one guy got down in Australia. I did a bunch of flat cars for him. And he wanted them decorated, painted, decorated. And I think I got like $30 each for them. Which, was great for me. I made good money on them. And he was happy because he couldn't get anything even close to that price. That's true too, Tom. He used colored filament. It probably would, Because, like you said, red, yellow, green, brown. Like I said, you buy the refills bulk, it's $11 a spool. Hell, you can't get no cheaper than that. Black filament for a tank car, there you go. Or even white if you wanted a white tank car. And like I said, if I thought it would take off, the next A1 I'd buy would have the AMS with it. For multicolor printing. I should have done it on this one, but I just didn't want to come off that extra $100, but I was foolish. Because if I wanted to add it now, it would cost me $200. Where I could have got it with the machine for $100 more. I should have got it and said to hell with it. And, even if I didn't use it right away, at least I'd have it. I don't always think straight, so what can I tell you? So yeah, I don't know, we'll see. And it's not going to be long. Here's the only unfortunate part. It won't be long before everybody with a printer starts doing the same thing. Because we're all in the same boat financially. A lot of us hobbyists, model train guys, are on disability or Social Security, with the exception of Tom Grassi, we don't have a lot of money. Tom, he's got full pockets for his hobby. And it shows because look at the stuff he's doing. But, most of us can't do it, So, that's another thing to take into consideration, too. Especially if somebody sees you making big money on it, they're going to go, well, hell, I can do that. And they'll start doing it, and now you got competition. And I don't think the hobby is big enough for dozens or more hobbyists with 3D printers could, they would oversaturate the market and we'd all wind up going hungry. Like I said, I look at the whole big picture whenever I think about doing something. But for now, it may not be a bad idea. It also depends upon, like I said, how sophisticated you want your models to come out. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to add separately applied ladders, brake wheels. I mean, it can all be done cheap enough. Hey, Real Artist, how you doing? Good to see you. I just got to notice that I am a moderator on this channel, finally. I hit the big time. Didn't I make you a moderator sometime back? Pretty sure I did. I don't know. Anyway, glad to see you here. So, we were discussing the possibility of using a 3D printer to actually make rolling stock and other things for the railroad to make extra money. I think it's a great idea, and I will be looking into it. Tom says, Jim, I am an example of that. You was printing things for me, and then I said I can do that, and then I got printers. That's what will happen. Well, exactly, that's what will happen. Yeah, it is my fault, actually, because if I didn't do all that stuff for you, you might not have gotten into 3D printing. Who knows? But, well, that's the way it goes. I mean, it's inevitable, And people will do it just to save money for themselves. Even if they don't do it to make money, they could do it to save money because, hey, if you could print 100 different rolling stock for your layout for, $20, $30, printing for yourself, why wouldn't you do it? Because they're getting ridiculous money for stuff that's out in the stores. Of course, I don't know. I suppose if it got bad enough, though, they'd probably try and prevent you from printing rolling stock. I don't know how they would do it, but I mean, they're trying to do that with cars now. I just watched a video where the CEO of Ford and apparently General Motors and possibly Chrysler, or Stellantis as it were, they're petitioning the government to create a bill, that would make it a crime to repair your own vehicle. Fortunately, Trump told them to go pound sand, but, what the hell's wrong with these people? Well, we're losing too much money. People aren't coming to the dealer anymore. Well, why would you when they're charging $300-400 an hour and they don't even fix the damn thing? And usually when you go to the dealer, they'll fix the one thing, 10 others will break right behind it. Tom says, as long as there are free files and free CAD programs, then it makes it easier for use with 3D printers. That's true. So, like I said, but, they're cracking down on the printers now, using guns as the excuse. New York, California, Oregon, Washington State, and Colorado, I believe. And I think Connecticut, and I hear Jersey might jump in on it, Tom, where they want to restrict 3D printing to only people who can get, you'd have to pass a background check to buy one. And then you wouldn't be allowed to print anything that resembles a gun component. And of course they'd start with that and go, well, if you're printing rolling stock for your model trains, those are, copyrighted products, you can't do that. And that's how they would go about it, I'm sure. Railroad says the only things I print these days are prints of my artwork and going to inventory my railroad art soon and start selling them. I know, you got some nice stuff, man. And you might as well sell them because, hey, make some money. So I said, I don't know. We're living in weird times, man, where everybody's looking to make a buck and they don't care who they steal it from. Derek says, interested in 1953 type, 10,000 gallon single dome tank cars, 40-foot reefers in Pacific fruit growers, or fruit growers expense, 40-foot box cars and 36 to 40-foot 2-bay hoppers. Yeah, I could probably print all that stuff. So, like I said, I may look into it and, maybe we could do business. Well, like I said, I don't want to get to a point where printing takes up all my free time and then I can't work on my layout. So, it would have to be like a secondary thing. Because that's what was happening before. I was printing so many things, so I was selling this and that, and, and I spent more time printing stuff and prepping it and everything else and packaging and, shipping it off. I had no time to work on my stuff. So, it's hard to do both. So I'd have to, like I said, do it on a level where it didn't interfere with my ability to do my thing. But like I said, I'm going to look into it either way. Because that's probably the only way I can really make money in this hobby. Not going to make money on YouTube, that's for damn sure. And nobody's dumb enough to just hand me free money. I don't blame them. So, I mean, you do what you got to do. I mean, the good news is there really isn't too much I actually need now. I'm going to have to get a secondary motor, man. That's another, I feel, $140 thereabouts with shipping and all. I don't need any rolling stock. I got a ton of stuff now. And I still got stuff I got to repair that won't even fit up on the yard. I probably got another 30 or 40 rail cars that, anything from flat cars to gondolas to box cars that need to be repaired. John says, Jim, I can't wait until I can retire. Have some free time. I hear you there, man. So that I need, let's see, what else do I need? Need another power supply. I need the workbench. Well, that's about it, really. And a couple more cameras. But realistically, I got pretty much almost everything I need. Now there's some little, nickel and dime shit I'll probably have to do, but Hey Derek, how was the cookie? There you go. So that's where I'm at. Like I said, I'm making progress very slowly, but I'm making progress. Melted from Florida, there you go. Tell you what, it wasn't real terribly hot out. Right now it's 89 degrees out there. But the humidity is probably about 90-95%. It's humid as shit. Rick says, I can't wait to retire either 3 more years. That'll go by pretty quick by the way things are going now. I mean, I've been retired since I was 47, so I never thought that would happen, like I said. My plan was to work until I died. But it didn't work out that way. I have enough rolling stock to fill a layout of 35 by 41 feet in a space of 32 by 8. I got more than enough. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I got plenty too. I would like to make some odd stuff. And I've got a couple odd ones. I showed you. I mean, I still have all the STLs for it and all, but I've got an old style cement car. What was the other one? It had containers on it. I can't remember what was in them, but Some old, all this shit was from like the 50s and 60s. A friend of mine brought me over a book that I could borrow. Had all the odd train cars you hardly ever see. So he says, can you make this, this, and that? And I did. And I sold them to him, and then I made myself some as well. You know, whatever works. Like I said, I'm always looking for odd stuff. Like when I go to train shows, which is very rare anymore, but once again, well, they usually have pretty good prices on rolling stock. Especially used stuff. I like box cars with different ads on them, different logos, you know. So anything that's, you know, unusual, and if the price is right, I'm going to buy it. That's the way it goes. Let's see, was there anything else I had? I think it was only the video that I had to show. You know, I hooked up the overhead camera. As a matter of fact, here it is. Or not. Well, it was working, now it's not. That's what I'm saying, that's a USB camera. I'm really ready to shit can all the USB cameras except for the main one. I got like 6 of them in the drawer. And I think what I'm going to wind up doing with them is, I'm going to do a giveaway soon. You know, contest. I've been finding things I want to get rid of. Some of it's new, some of it's not, but, you know. Like I found this thing here. I don't know where the hell I got it from. It's brand new. And it's a no-name, but it's fashioned after, I can't think of the name of it, but it's a DC transformer. Got 4 outlets in the back, you know. 2 for the track. And a 16 volt, you know, power supply. I know I have the transformer for it. I gotta find it because it's got a port in the back to plug into, but this thing's brand new. This is just a dial, a direction forward and back, but yeah, if you're on a DC, it'll work on just about anything, I imagine. So, like I said, I've got a whole bunch of stuff laying around. Yeah, that is a good thing that operation was successful. That's cool. He said all you can do now is hope for a quick recovery. So anyway, I got a bunch of other stuff here that I'm just probably going to get a whole box of shit and do, you know, a contest and just give it all away. We'll see. I still got to get in there and clean half them drawers out and see what's in half of them. Because honestly, I don't even know. And like I said, I'm probably going to get rid of a lot of stuff that I don't use anymore. Or never had a need for anyway. So we'll see. Let's see, what else is going on? Like I said, things are getting a little cleaned up here. Not too bad. I already went through one, was it second roll? Yeah, I went through 2 rolls of filament already. Well, I'm on my second roll now. And I just put a 3rd roll on the spool. Still have 1 left. If I have to, like I said, I'll buy more next month. It's $40 for 4 spools. Oh, actually like $42.99. Less than $11 a spool. And you can get them in different colors. But I don't think you can mix and match. I think you pretty much got to pick a color, and that's what you're going to get. because I try to buy them bulk and 4-packs. So we'll see, but Rick, you will be giving everyone the finger as soon as the swelling goes down. Glad you're okay. There you go. Nothing like a little bit of humor in there, right? Works for me. It's funny. I don't know. I had a bunch of skin tags removed at the dermatologist a week ago. And I thought, oh, mostly under my arms. And they're all gone. Yay. I had like 5 of them there. They were huge. Numbed them and clipped them right off and cauterized each one so I wouldn't bleed out. Holy shit. I'm glad to get rid of those. They were a real nuisance. They're painful. Because the more you rub on them, the more tender they get. So I was glad to get rid of them. But yeah, I did hurt my hand the other day, my right hand, which is a stroke affected one. I had to get up on a 2-step stool and then brace myself on the second level to glue down the track that I put in. And I think I might have put too much pressure on this and kind of almost like, not quite sprained it, but something similar, It really was giving me a lot of problems last night, man. It really hurt like a bitch. So, but today it feels a lot better. I'm always okay. Well, so far anyway. It's always something, It's either electronic or physical or emotional. Hell, I don't know. It's just always something. And I ain't getting no younger. Hell, in September I'll be 67, man. Hard to believe. I don't know where the hell the last 67 years went, but it just blew right by, it seems. Seemed like it was that long ago I was a teenager. What the hell happened? So, what else am I doing here? I haven't done a damn thing outside the shed. Like, I got the main wire going from the Starlink satellite dish coming into here. It's all laying on the ground. I'm going to have to do something and suspend it somehow or bury it. Because, I have to cut the lawn. Last time I cut the lawn, I actually hung it up on some fence posts and very carefully cut, so I wouldn't hit it on anything. Derek says, thought I had a skin tag last month. Turned out to be a male Lone Star tick. Holy shit. 21 days of antibiotics, but at least it wasn't loaded with alpha-gal. I still eat. Oh, thank God for that. I haven't read up on that shit, and I'm so mad. We have ticks here, too, but I mean, I'm careful where I let the dogs roam. Pogo's always on a leash now. I don't let him go roaming out in the weeds because I'm afraid he'll pick up one, and I don't know what it'll do to a dog, but I know what it'll do to people. And I'm so mad because they found out that the CIA was the one who infected the ticks with Lyme disease. We now have proof of that. It's a fact. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Gates, who knows, even Google, are behind this fucking alpha-gal. Because, Bill Gates especially, he's trying to get people to stop eating beef. Well, real beef anyway. See, in Florida, along with 18 other states, have banned the fake meat. He can't sell his crap over here. We won't let him. But, if all the beef went away, I still wouldn't eat it. But it's still bullshit. And I tell you, whoever does that shit should be strung high, really high, and hung. Hang them really fucking high. Rick says, yep, time goes by fast when we're having fun. I'll be 59 in August. Well, you're not too far behind me. John says, a buddy of mine here in Virginia just had Lone Star tick on him. And that's scary stuff, man. John says, Rick, I turned 59 in May. Ah, you guys are young. I would kill to be 59. That's why I had to get a pacemaker, was bit by a tick. And had, oh, you had Lyme disease, Tom? I didn't know that. You know what kills me is, if your dog gets it, they can cure it. Safely. They've been able to cure it for a long time. In animals. But not people. I had, well, he wasn't really a friend, he was more of an associate. And I told him if he ever came here I'd kill him, and I probably would have, because he was a thief. And you don't steal from me and live to tell about it, but he had Lyme disease. Where did he come from? I think he came from, I'm not sure, somewhere up north. And he got bit by a tick and got Lyme disease, and it was really fucking with him. He's dead now. I don't know what killed him. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't, Lyme disease. No. That's why, they also released, yeah, I read about the 1,000 radioactive ticks, too. Fucking bullshit. Sorry to read this, Tom. Yeah, I hear you. How do you know it's a Lone Star? Something about the way they're shaped or whatever. Which is the one with the white spot on it is the one that carries the alpha-gal disease, as a rule. I have big deer in my backyard, nice 8, 10, and 12 pointers. Beautiful. Yeah, they are, man. Happy late birthday, John. They have, they have a yellow diamond on their backs. Thomas, the ticks with Lyme disease made it that you had to get the pacemaker. Yeah, I don't, like I said, I know it affects your legs. So a lot of people that get Lyme disease wind up getting crippled. I think it just depends, how it affects different people. Thomas says, hey Jim, now there's a Trump train. You mean a real one or a replica? So, I don't know. Like I said, it scares the shit out of me though, because, man, I don't know what I'm basically on an all-meat diet, mostly. Caveman diet or whatever the hell you call that. If I couldn't eat meat, I don't know what the fuck I would do, man. Brown tick with the white or yellow spot on his back, I still have him. Is he dead, I hope, right? I said, I remember when I got Buddy, my older, the dog, he's passed now, but when I got him from the pound, we brought him home. We never checked him, we should have, because he used to sleep in the bed with us, man. That dog had like 1,000 ticks on him. And I was so mad, I called up, the DAS, and I said, look, don't you check the dog before you put him up for adoption? This dog's infested with ticks. Well, we give you a collar for it. Take your collar and shove it up your ass. So we were battling ticks in the bedroom and on the dog for a couple of weeks till we finally got rid of them all. Never got bit by any of them. So, it's crazy. Thomas says, a real Trump train, Union Pacific, number 4547. That figures 4547. Tom says, Derek, yes, it destroyed 2 of the 3 pacemakers in my heart. Was down to the last one. My heart rate was 20. I drove 30 miles to the doctor's office with a heart rate of 20. I know. Didn't you tell me about that, Tom? I think you did. And I'm thinking, how in the hell did you even You should have been out cold with a fucking 20 beats per minute, man. You're very lucky. God did not want you dead yet. Yeah, some shit. But I said I don't understand how they can cure a dog, can't cure a person. But now, supposedly, now that the alpha gal came out, they have a cure for Lyme disease in people. I think they always had one. They just, oh, why would we put that out? Because we'll let people die from it. Who the fuck cares? A bunch of, I'll tell you what, some evil bastards on this planet. There really are. They all need to die. They need to start with Bill Gates and then go after the rest of them. Anybody who puts money above everything else should be put down. So anyway, but I'll have to get my pacemaker replaced, I think, next year. I think they said I had 11 months left on it. That was a few months ago. Thomas says, I've been bit by a lot of Lone Star ticks. Nothing. Well, you were lucky. And it depends. Not all of them are contaminated. Some are. It's like mosquitoes. You could get bit by 10,000 mosquitoes and be fine. But that one that carries a disease and he gets you, now you're fucked. It's a big gambling game is all it is. Thomas says, Jim, yes I did. And they at the office could not believe I drove in the office with that heart rate. They now call me when I go, M.R. Grassy. Mr. Grassy is here, The Walking Dead. Yeah, I hear you, man. That's incredible. Like I said, it just wasn't your time yet, I mean, mine gets down. Mine routinely runs at 60 to 68, my heart rate. Because I have a pacemaker, and that's what they set it for. But if it got down below that, I think I'd probably go down. Why would they even engineer a stick to carry it? Well, the reason, Derek, is they don't want you eating meat. Bill Gates he patented his fake fucking lab meat, and they want to get rid of the cows because cow farts destroying the planet, right? It's not, but they just don't want people being healthy because healthy people eat meat. If you get rid of the meat, you won't be healthy anymore. And they want a sickly race that will constantly, go to the doctor and use their garbage pharmaceuticals. That's why. Jim, the Trump train Union Pacific number 4547 is an ET-44. Oh, that's cool. So, same thing. Well, they did the Lyme disease was supposedly they infected the Cuban sugar fields with it because they wanted to break the Cuban export of sugar cane. So they thought if they dumped all those ticks, the Lyme disease ticks down there, the workers would get sick. They wouldn't be able to process the sugar cane, and Cuba would go bankrupt because that was their main export. Didn't work apparently, but that was the plan. And the CIA was behind it. I don't know why we don't shut the CIA down and, permanently just kill them all because they're too dangerous to leave alive. We just need to do away with that whole thing, man. The CIA was supposedly the ones that were responsible for killing Kennedy. President Kennedy. And who knows who else they've killed. They don't blink an eye. They just don't care. If they got the order to wipe out the population of the U.S., they would do it without blinking an eye. They just don't give a shit. Thomas said the 4547 is a full American flag paint scheme with the president logo. Cool. Surprised I haven't seen that advertised somewhere yet. I'm sure I will. So yeah, it's just, And you guys probably heard about the 37 million genetically modified mosquitoes they want to dump in Florida. They're going to dump them in California too, but I think it's Florida and California, we're going to get the bulk of them. And with this bullshit story that they'll be sterile, so they won't be able to mate with the females, because they're all males, the ones that don't bite. And that's going to knock down the population. And if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you in New York. We don't know what them mosquitoes are really carrying or what they're capable of, you know. And they said they tried that before somewhere. It wasn't in Florida, but turns out that the females adapted, were able to reproduce, and were now resistant to a lot of pesticides we used to use to kill them. You know. Time you go fucking with nature, man. This is what happens. Exactly. Don't fuck with Mother Nature. And they need to stop, man. Every time they do something, they create bigger problems than they had before. You know. I was watching a video the other day that they were talking about all the things they've done in Florida over the years that they thought was a good idea. It turned out to be really bad. You know, bringing in like the cane toads. Those were imported here to take care of some other problem. And the problem is that it didn't take care of the problem. The cane toads are thriving here. And of course they're detrimental to pets. Dogs and cats. All they have to do is lick them. And they die. Yeah. Bunch of bullshit. Thomas says, Jim, I bet you will buy an HO. No, I bet I won't. I ain't buying new nothing anymore, man. I'm done buying new shit. You know, I got everything I want. If I do decide to get more locomotives, they'll be used. They'll be DC, and I'll convert them over. Because it's a lot cheaper to buy a used DC loco and convert it to sound and DCC than it is to buy a new DC logo. In most cases. So no, and like I said, I don't want, is that a steam engine, Thomas, or is that diesel? I don't want any more steam engines, obviously. I got two, that's enough. And diesels, well, I don't know, like I said, I don't know. That one is by Scale Train. Yeah, Scale Trains is too fucking high priced for me, man. They're almost $300 now for, you know, a rivet counter, and well, Tom Grassi says they're still making operators, but every time I get an ad for them, there's no operators in there. They're all rivet counters. So I don't know what the deal is with that. It's a diesel, okay. Yeah, I'm not real big. I don't have any real interest in what they call them, heritage units. You know. Because like I said, most of everything I want to get now, I want to repaint and make it into my new blue and silver paint scheme for the Millennium County Railroad. I'll still keep my BNSF stuff, but everything that isn't BNSF will get converted to Millennium County. Because they can, you know. It'll give me something to do as well. So. Especially now that I got that new cordless airbrush. That thing works great. I really like it. Yeah, I know. All those ones are heritage. You know, the Crooked Dave loves heritage locos. I think he's got almost every one they've come out with. He can afford it, you know. That, until I get a new power supply on this thing, I can't even run a consistent loco. If I tried to lash up 2 or 3 of them in a consist, they ain't running. I don't have enough power to push them. So I definitely got to get my power supply issue straightened out. And honestly, I'd rather buy the $200 one that's 20 amp in case I decide to upgrade later. Because I have a 5 amp system now. But it'll automatically reduce down to 5 amp for my booster. But it would make more sense to go with a more powerful power supply. They used to be $160 because I was going to get one like 5 years ago. And I don't remember why I didn't, but I didn't. And now you said I just looked one up, and that was on Amazon. And I checked Train World and Trains and a few hobby centers, and they're all within the same range. It was $258 and change. I'm thinking, holy shit, it's just a power supply. For $544, I can get that power supply, another cab controller, and the 15 amp booster. If I had the money, I'd probably kick that one around too. Jim, my NCE 2 amp power cab system can run 3 engines now. Problem maybe is the wattage on your power supply. Wattage needs to be 13 and up. I think this is a 90 watt. It's 15 volts, 90 watts, and 5 amps. But it's only putting out 10 volts. And that's without a load. With a load, it's probably putting out less. And only 2 amps. I didn't check the wattage on it, but I'm sure it's down too. So I have the first 20 NS Heritage units plus the 1030 unit you see on the turntable in North Carolina when all of them were, oh, cool. I mean, hey, if you're into that, that's cool, if you can afford them. I can't afford them. I mean, some of them are really nice. And like I said, realistically, how many can I run at any given time with 2 mains? So, I mean, well, exactly, Tom. 10 volts isn't barely enough to run engine. And if I turn the sound on that loco, it gets even worse. What you saw earlier was running at speed step 50, and it was barely moving at times. So, like I said, it's actually working better than the old power supply that I was using. But I'm going to have to get another power supply. Norfolk Southern will be no more next year. It will be Union Pacific, first transcontinental. Oh, okay. They got bought out, did they? Or absorbed as it was? Absorbed. Like I said, it's always something, And you think you got it figured out, and then something breaks and kicks you on your ass again. Rick says, I got stupid when they came out. It took me years to get them. Hey, but if you're happy, that's all that matters. I mean, I'm not faulting anybody for buying whatever, I'm just saying I can't afford it, and I'm not going to do it, Not that I wouldn't like to, probably, but, I really just can't afford it. So, that's always been the big thing for me, what's affordable for me. So I said that's why I almost wish I could go back to work. What they're paying me now every month, I can make in a week easily. Jim, when are you riding the sugar line? I'm not sure, Thomas. I've been wanting to do it. My wife says I won't be able to get up in the thing. She may be right. I don't know. I mean, I don't climb stairs well. And they don't really make accommodations for the handicapped. So I don't know. I'd have to go look at it, check it out, see if I can. Because I got on the dinner train down in Fort Myers. You know, they had steps going up to it. And it wasn't that big of a deal, but I don't know about the sugar line. If I can't get up in it, then I damn sure won't be riding it. Rick says, I can't afford the new ones. Oh, I know. Well, like I said, they're nearing $300, and some are even surpassing $300. And honestly, I think that's just too much money, you know. I mean, I think a fair price for them would probably be about $150, maybe $175. But actually, over that, man, that's really pushing it, you know. I mean, so the two ET44s I have, the rivet counter I paid $263 for, and the operator I think I only paid $245 for. Both have DCC and sound from scale trains. I had the money, I liked them, so I went ahead and bought them, you know. Looking back on it, I almost wished I didn't. I think I'd have been better off buying an Athearn version instead. Because like I said, I'm having problems with both of them. And they don't have a lot of hours on them. You know. The motors seem to be alright. I guess the decoders are getting ready to, you know, take a shit. There was SD60. That's the scale trains. That was an undecorated operator series. And I got that for, I think I paid $230 for it maybe. I don't remember. Had DCC and sound. But I think the decoder's going bad on that because you want to have the sound turned off. Sometimes the horn blows. Sometimes the bell rings. Sometimes it makes a little bit of noise even though the sound is turned off. I don't know what's going on with that. Tom says, Jim, you really need to get a DCC meter for your system. That will help you on my test system. I obviously have a meter shows 13.5 watts DCC and 0.5 amps with 3 engines running around the circle. You're right, Tom. I should get one, and I probably will. I mean, I use a multimeter now. It's may not be quite as accurate. It's a pain in the ass, but you have to do a little bit of math with it. But it would be nice to actually have a meter you can glance at and go, oh, all right, I'm within specs, or no, I'm not within specs. So I'll have to look into getting one at some point. Yeah. Rick says $700 for me an O scale, can't afford. Oh yeah, $700 for a heritage unit. That ain't gonna happen. And that's almost like, well, not anymore, but not that long ago, you could have bought a decent used car for that, you know. And so you just bought a shitload of used cars, but you can't sit in them. Like I said, you know, prices are going to keep going up. I don't know if they'll ever come back down. Unless, of course, you know, and even then, that's not a guarantee. If people stop buying them, it could drive the cost down. Because, you know, you get to a point where you got inventory. You can't move. You have two choices. You either go belly up and take a big loss, or you lower the price and make some money. Because some money is better than no money. DCC Concepts and NCC has a DCC meters. I have both types, and I'll check them out. As a matter of fact, let me write that down. I've been on DCC Concepts site before, but almost lost my brush. There we go. So I'll check that out when I get a chance. I mean, it would make it easier to diagnose at a glance too, you know, where, like I said, I had to get my multimeter out and, you know, check this, check that, do some multiplication and division, and okay, I'm not getting what I'm supposed to be getting, you know. I mean, I figured it out easy enough, but it was time consuming and you couldn't just do it at a glance, you know, where I actually had a meter hooked up to the track. You know, I can say, all right, there we go, everything's fine. And that's another reason why I want to buy the more expensive power supply, because it has, I think it has a built-in amp meter and a voltage meter. It doesn't have a watt meter, but it has the voltage and amps analog meter right there to tell you what's drawn and where you're at. So that's pretty handy. I have a Z4000 from MTH. It shows how many volts and amps that I am putting on there. There you go. Thomas Grassi says, just show a photo on Facebook showing 1978 black Trans Am and 64 black Trans Man, which is Michelle Obama. Michael Obama. That guy that was on the, you know, they had a boxing match at the White House for Trump's birthday, you know, on the grounds. And I guess one of the fighters, he come out and said, you know, Michelle Obama's a man. I mean, we all know it anyway, you know. But for some reason, there's been a lot of memes and people coming out and saying, oh, yeah, that's a man, you know. So, and she can't do anything about it because, like one guy pointed out, he says, well, if she tried to sue him for slander, she'd be forced to prove she wasn't a man by, you know, showing she don't have a dick. Which she can't because she does have one. So, you know, basically she's just going to have to put up with it. And, well, it is what it is. Yeah, I heard somewhere that Barack Obama came out as gay. Well, that ain't nothing new either. You know, he was gay before he was president. Why wouldn't he be during and after? Yeah, the left is going nuts now. Yeah, they are right now. It's actually kind of funny. I mean, you know, look. It is what it is, man. The scary part is we had a gay motherfucker and his male lover, or husband or wife or whatever, in the White House running the country for 8 years. That's the scary part. You know. And unfortunately, I think a lot of the country knew the truth, but nobody was willing to really push it, I guess. And the government itself just, you know, oh, no, Michelle's a woman, and, you know, those are her kids. And there's not a single picture of her pregnant, which is very unusual. I mean, you know, I have pictures of my ex-wife when she was pregnant, because, you know, those are my kids. And everybody did that. Well, they said actually Hillary's bi. She swings both ways. That's what I read anyway. And apparently so is her husband. Probably. I don't know if he's bi or not, but he's definitely a horn dog. Probably because she's bi. Nice. Could you imagine having to go to bed with that at night? Yeah, that's scary. But it's his own fault. He married her. And the scary part is she wasn't good looking when they first got married. And she was pretty young, you know. And she was an ugly woman right off the bat, man. And an ugly woman is going to stay ugly. Yeah, well, not probably, she is one. Oh, yeah, absolutely. She and Bill had something in common. Yeah, they both like pussy. That's true. I mean, I don't know what the hell's wrong with the people in this country, you know? Too many fucked up people, man. And they're going after Carmelo Anthony's parents, possibly for fraud, because nobody can account for that $700,000 that they collected on Give, Send, Go. And they're thinking that the parents actually pissed away the money. Plus, they set up a fake LLC, probably to launder the money. Some weird shit going on out there, man. Tom says, I almost felt sorry for Bill Clinton, but then I said, you got what you deserve. Yeah, he really did. I mean, well, they were basically both criminals. You know, when he was the governor, wasn't he the governor of Oklahoma, I think it was? Arkansas, excuse me. When he was the governor of Arkansas, if I'm correct on that, they say he was doing so much illegal shit. They were running drugs and all kinds of crap, so, you know. Unchecked mental illness, Jim, that's the main problem today. Yes, it is. And he said we need to make asylums great again, you know. You know, and that's funny because ever since they shut down the insane asylums, things went to hell out in the real world. I mean, you know, I could tell you some stories about some mental people that I met and ran into, you know, over the years, and that would not have happened if those institutions were still operational, you know. I mean, it's crazy why we let people like that just run loose in society. You know. I was going out with a girl, her name was Ada, back when I was a teenager. I was 15, 14, 15, somewhere around there. And her uncle, she used to tell everybody he had a license to kill. So how do you get a license to kill? Well, you know, he's insane. I says, yeah, so what makes you think he's got a license to kill? Well, he carries a shotgun everywhere he goes. I went over to her house one time, and there he was sitting there with a 12 gauge. Was it loaded? I wasn't going to ask to find out. They weren't really afraid of him, but, you know, they said that if he did kill anybody, he'd get away with it because he was insane. I'm thinking, why would you let a mentally insane person have a shotgun? But, you know, they were kind of like back hills people. She was pretty for, you know, I mean, you know, I remember her mom. I went over here one time to go see her, and her mom goes, why are you seeing my daughter? Because I like her. She says, you want to get in her pants, don't you? And without thinking, I said, well, yeah. That's wrong thing to say. I was kind of bad from going over to the house anymore after that. But it was true, you know. John says, look at these jackasses who tried to terrorize the UFC weight. Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying there's so many nutcases running around out there. Most of them have a D behind their name for Democrat. Or Democrat, as Tom likes to call them. You know. Derek says, unchecked mental illness. Can I blame that on the tick? Probably, and you'd probably get away with it. You know. Messed up shit, man, I'll tell you what. But this is where we're at. Everybody's thieving, everybody's lying, everybody's trying to fraud somebody or defraud somebody. It's ridiculous. You know, I would just don't kill them. You know. You see these memes, you know, should we lock up scam artists? No, we should hang them. What the hell good is locking them up do? Hey, you get computers in prison. They'll just scam from prison. You know. Just hang them. Be done with it. Oh, you stole $15,000 off that poor old lady who's eating cat food now? Guess what? You're hanging tomorrow. I mean, seriously. Why even screw around with this shit? Well, he's mentally unstable. I don't care. Can you fix it? Well, no. Well, if you can't fix them, kill them. You know. Why would you let him run loose and do whatever he's going to do? I don't get it. That's why they won't let me be in charge, because I'd fix all this shit. Well, he tried to anyway before they killed me. But, you know, it's all easily fixed. It would send a message. Yeah, it would. I mean, you know, it just... I don't understand why we don't punish people properly. You know. It's like, you know, the kid, for example, you know, Carmelo Anthony. He got 35 years because they couldn't give him any more legally. Because he was a juvenile when it happened, even though they charged him as an adult. If he'd have been an adult, he could have got 99 years, or the death penalty. And the 99 years would have been without possibility of parole. In other words, he'd have been dead no matter what. But because he was 17 when it happened, we can only give him 35 years. I still think, and I'm hoping, that somebody takes him out in prison. And I believe somebody will. We'll see. Derek says, we didn't have insane asylums because they were out. No, they weren't. They were never incurable. They were never curable. I mean, a few might have been. But, you know, if it's a birth defect or an injury, really couldn't fix that, you know. AI, artificial insanity. There you go. You may be onto something there, right? But, I mean, seriously, you know, I mean, look. If you go out and you behead 3 or 4 people because, you know, whatever reason, doesn't even matter the reason, you should not be able to walk away from that and still breathe. Take a life, you lose your own. It should be that simple. You forget this murder 1, murder 2, manslaughter, aggravated manslaughter, and whatever other various reasons of murder there are. The person you killed is dead. There's no dead 1, dead 2, or, you know, accidental dead or almost dead. Well, maybe there could be almost dead, but, you know. If the person's dead, they're not coming back, and you should have to join them. Am I wrong? Seriously. And that should be the law of the land. Take a life, lose your own, unless it's self-defense. Real self-defense. And Carmelo could have claimed self-defense if the other guy, the white kid, would give him a beat down. Then he could have said, well, hey, he was kicking my ass. I thought I was going to die. So, you know, I used self-defense and took his life before he killed me. That would have been acceptable, but that didn't happen. You know, a push is not an act of deadly consequence. Unless you're on a elevator shaft or something. So, it's ridiculous. And yeah, they just caught another serial killer up in New York. Been doing it, serial killing, for 30 years. They finally caught him. Apparently somebody he thought he killed wasn't dead, and they were able to identify him. Now you know he's not going to get the electric chair, or the hanging rope, or the firing squad. They'll give him life imprisonment so they can study him. There's nothing to study. The asshole killed a shitload of women. Just fucking kill him. And do it next week, not 30 years down the road. Tell me I'm wrong. Just the way I feel about it. Right, Pogo? I like that artificial insanity, though. Yeah, he's a 14-year-old kid. Robbed some kids that were, I think, a little younger. Operating a lemonade stand at gunpoint. Armed robbery of a lemonade stand. He supposedly got $50. They caught him. They should hang him, too. Yeah, I know they do. It's ridiculous. Just kill them and be done with it. Shoot them, hang them. Hang them's free. Once you buy the rope and tie it to a tree or whatever, that's it. That's your only expense. The second cheapest would be shooting them. Instead of having a firing squad, have one sharpshooter. I'll volunteer. You know. Get the AK out, boom, one right between the eyes. What does that cost? $1? Yeah. It's money well spent. But instead, they'll spend tens of thousands of dollars over the course of 20, 30 years. And if he gets sick, there was one, I can't remember who it was, but it was some years back. Guy had cancer. He needed life-saving treatment or he was going to die. He was already on death row for murder. So rather than just let him fucking die, they gave him this, it was like a $2 million surgery to cure him so that they could kill him a year later. What the hell? Rex Howerman, Long Island Today Beach, Syracuse. Oh, that's right. Oh, he got, yeah, say life in prison. Some prostitutes, no death penalty, probably a plea bargain to admit who he killed. Well, like I said, one of the women he thought he killed survived, and she was able to identify him. He didn't need a plea bargain, but I wouldn't be surprised if they gave him. But still, why would you have this asshole keep him alive for however many years he's got? You know, because I think he was pretty old, wasn't he? He was like 60-something? 64, I thought I read. He could make it another 20 years easy. We got to pay for that shit. Why not just fucking take him out back, put one in the back of his head, and call it a day? You can't fix him. And prison's not a punishment. I mean, it would for one of us, because we don't want to be there. For these guys, they don't care. Free room and board. Free meals 3 times a day. A bed, a blanket, a pillow. They get sick, they fix you up. You got computers, telephones, TV, everything you can think of. It's available in the prison. How is that a punishment? It's not. Kill that motherfucker and be done with it. Yeah, I hear you, Rick, because I get blocked all the time, because I usually have something to say, you know. And I have to say it in a way where it's not direct, because I'll get blocked. I did one, it was the last night, I can't remember what it was about now, but it said something to the effect that the only way to solve that problem is use of the Second Amendment. And well, you violated community standards. What the fuck, man? So, or no, I did. That's what I finished up with. I think the first time I said he needs to be, you know, taken out. Which, you know, we all know what I meant, but it wasn't direct. I didn't say he needed to be killed or murdered. So it wouldn't let me put it in, so I changed it to, well, we need to exercise our Second Amendment to fix this problem. And it actually let that go through. I mean, I have to be creative with my comments in order to get them through. Oops, was that too direct? Yeah, it was. I mean, but it's ridiculous, you know. Because the comments should be obvious what needs to be done. But they don't want, you know, oh, we have community standards. What fucking community is that? Not the community I belong to. We all think like I do, you know. They commit a crime, just kill them. Because he's going to do it again, you know. There's no reason why we should allow anybody to be arrested and charged 15, 20, 30 times, you know. If you ain't figured out after the second time, you ain't gonna. You know. They used to have a rule in Florida called 3 strikes and you're out. And I guess it was, well, actually it was the 520 and life plan. First time you got 5 years. Second time you got 20. Third time if you committed a crime, you got life imprisonment. But like I said, why life? Why not just do like, first time you get 6 months. Second time you get the death penalty. Now you know. You got no excuse, you know. Because if you ain't figured it out after the first time, you ain't gonna figure it out after the 30th, 50th, or 100th time. And we're seeing that all too often. You get these people, you know, 30 convictions, 20 convictions, 64 convictions. Why are they even out on the street? Yeah, that's right. They did have that in New York too. 3 felonies, no parole. That's fine, but it doesn't really work. If I were president, I'll tell you exactly what I did. So probably piss a few people off, but I don't care. If I were president, I would do an executive order to execute every felony in prison. If you're convicted of a felony, which, you know, felonies are serious, take them out and shoot them. Empty the prisons overnight. And that would become the law of the land. Yeah, we'll give you one shot. We'll let you go easy. You do it again, you get the bullet. Or the hanging rope, whatever. And if you kill someone, there's no questions asked. Take a life, lose your own. We could solve so many problems if we just did it that way. Yeah. Like I said, remember Charles Manson, that nutcase? They should have executed him, but they were afraid to. They admitted it. We don't want to kill him because he said if we kill him, he would come back and be worse than he was while he was alive. And you believe that? He's dead now. He died, you know, in prison. They should have just killed him right off the bat. I'll take that chance. Boom. Well, where are you? You know. Because it's bullshit. But that's how stupid our government is. They're afraid. They're afraid of their own shadows. We might come back and kill us. Not if he's dead, he ain't. You can't fix stupid, man, apparently. No, I don't know. Every now and then, though, I'll comment on something and I'll get a lot of upvotes. I never kept track of how many because there were quite a few, but I find a lot of people do think similarly the way I do. I think because we're all tired of it. You know, it's like, look, until you do something drastic, it's not going to stop. Yeah. Because human nature is pretty much basic. If it hurts or kills you, you generally won't do it. If it feels good and there's no consequence, well, shit, yeah, you know. That old saying go, I'll try anything once, twice if I like it. You know. And it's that way with everything. It really is. Just the way it is. Like this chair. I hate this chair. It hurts my ass. I gotta get a new one. I broke one of the wheels this afternoon. They're like double wheels 5 times. One of them fell off. I was going to put it back on. I found it rolls better without that one wheel missing. But for whatever reason, it was hanging up the whole thing. Now it actually, you know, well, it rolls a little better. Not 100%, but at least you can move it. Before I had to get up and actually drag it. So, you know. That's another thing I need. I need a new chair. I kind of want to get a good one, but, you know, they're expensive. Hey, I can't fucking win, man. It sucks. I see my print's done, too. I go get my last 2 drawers. Ah. Let me get out of the chair, anyway. And they came out perfect. Oh. I got one that's got no dividers in it. I gotta take how to put supports underneath the handle. They come off relatively easy. Yeah, there you go. Nice clean handle now, right? And the other one has 4 dividers on it. And that was nice and clean now too. 4 dividers. So, this parts cabinet's finished. All the drawers are in it. And it came out really nice. I still gotta label all this stuff. I gotta get my label maker out and label everything. And load up some of the drawers. See, now this thing rolls too easy. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Is that the .4 head still, or did you change it? No, it's still the 4. I printed another car because I didn't like the way the first one came out, so I printed another Le Mans. The problem with the 4 is you can see the that's actually layered, and I've got to use body putty to finish this all out. And I used the number 4 on this. I should have used the 2 because I think it would have came out a lot nicer. So I'm still kind of experimenting with stuff, but now there's the first time I did it. Well, there's the hood that I did originally, and it does make a difference which thing you got. Tops the Jim working on a way to auto unload the build plate on the A1 and Mini. Working on the code, it will cool down the plate, then move the head, which will knock off the part onto the floor. Well, yeah, I mean, they make a thing for it. I can't remember what it's called, but it works on almost any machine. But and I've seen different variations of them. Someone had an A1. They had this device that was behind it that would push off the build plate and stick a new build plate on in place of it. So you could do it like 4 or 5 times. There were 4 or 5 build plates on a machine behind it, and it would, because they're magnetic, it would push it in place and then start the whole thing over again. Yeah, they actually are. They're very clean on the inside. And on the outside, there's a little embossed area. You can see it there on the right hand side where my hand is, where you can put your label. But it's actually still pretty smooth. I got a video that says, you know, you can eliminate the Z seam in there, but I'm not even showing it. I mean, it's got, like, you know, a record, the vinyl's got the grooves in it. These are actually smaller than on a record. Of course, the gray hides a lot of it, but it's actually not a bad setup. I mean, that Bamboo Labs A1's a great machine. I don't care what anybody says. You know, I'm very happy with it, and as long as it holds up, I'll be fine. That's the main thing is, and you know, as Tom Grassi pointed out, that you got to stay on top of the maintenance, you know. Clean and grease, clean and grease. And it's a small price to pay to keep it working, you know, constantly in tip-top shape. So I'd say this is 10 times the machine my Anycubic Viper was. You know, the Viper was a good machine, but when it was new, but then, like I said, as time went on, the wear was starting to show up on it. Now, some of it could have been maintenance because I didn't really do maintenance on it. You know, maybe once every 6 months I re-grease the Z screws, you know, vertical screws for the Z movement, and then check the belt tensions, and that was really about it, you know. So this here is a little more precise and built better. So, you know. And it didn't take that much filament. I'd say it took about half a spool to do that, because I'd already printed a few other things before that with that spool, and you know, there's still quite a bit on there, but I don't know if I may make another one, I may not, I don't know. Because like I said, when I get the new workbench, I want to have them against the wall. You know, so my racks with all the, you know, some of my parts and stuff in there. Of course, the new benches have 3 drawers instead of 4, which is fine, but I'm going to have a lot of my tools and other stuff there, and on the wall, well, you've already seen back there that I created 2 racks. One to hold the glue, super glue, and then one to hold the tacky glue, school glue, and the flux and the liquid flux, and the Plastruct cement. So I got all that covered now. Like I said, I started making things. What do I use, and how do I want to hold it? You know. The only thing I'm going to do, I think, I'm going to, where the tacky glue is, the A-leans, that one right there, I'm going to drill a hole in the bottom, not big enough to where the whole thing will fall through, before I can flip it upside down, and it'll stay, because I know it's like Tom Kvichak, he keeps his upside down so it's easier to get out. You know, gravity keeps it near the opening. So really that should be upside down, so I can easily drill a hole in the plastic to, you know, solve that problem. And then I've got, you know, over there in the other racks I have some other stuff. I've got the smoked liquid in one of them. And I've got that one there is the 4-ounce A-leans that's in this rack here. And in the room I've got a 3-ounce tube. And that fits in the same hole as the some of the model paints. So, like I said, I'm trying to build things that will fit and do what I need them to do. Tom said, just saw a teen was sentenced to 452 years in prison. And he was white. That explains why the black kid only got 35 years. It's a disgrace to the family. I agree, you know. And what? How can you get sentenced to 452? You ain't gonna live that long, you know. He might see 80 or 90 in prison if somebody doesn't kill him first. So if you did something that bad, you should be executed. That's simple. I mean, you know, all kidding aside, that's a long time to support somebody, and you're punishing them? How? As I said, it's a paid vacation. You get free room and board, free meals, free medical. You know, you might become the prison bitch at some point, but, you know, I imagine there might be worse things in life. I wouldn't think so, but, you know, some of them guys seem to enjoy that, so, you know. But, I mean, realistically, it's not a punishment. I wouldn't want to be there without a doubt, but I'm sure neither one of you guys would either. But there's no reason for it. Just kill them. You know. A hanging rope or a firing squad, you know, the firing squad we're looking at, there's usually 5 shooters. 4 of the guns have blanks, so nobody knows who actually shot them. And I don't understand that either. You know, if you don't have the conviction to take a life when it's deserved, maybe you shouldn't even be there. Like I said, if I knew somebody took a life needlessly, I wouldn't blink an eye or lose an ounce of sleep over it. I'd kill them in a heartbeat, and if it were up to me, depending how they killed that person, I'd probably want to duplicate that on them. Oh, you stabbed them to death? Well, give me a knife. You know. That's the way I see it. Is that crazy or cool? Maybe. But it seems to me if that were the way we did things, there'd be a lot less murders out there. You know, remember, murder's illegal. But it doesn't seem to slow anybody down any, does it? When the Democrats were in charge, he could say he was a female and go to a women's prison and have sex all day. Well, that's true. Well, Trump changed that. Trump reassigned all those transgenders and put them back in a men's prison. And that's not good for them because, you know, they may still have dicks, but they got tits too, so they're all going to be the prison bitch. Hey, Russ, how's it going, man? Good to see you here. So, you know. But then again, see, my attitude in prison should be different, too. You should be in a 4x4 cell where you can't stretch out, dirt floor, maybe a pillow, bread and water, you know, because just enough to subsist on. And a life sentence would be 5 years, just like in Mexico. Except in Mexico, you know, the jailers will come in every now and beat the shit out of you just for fun. We don't have to go that far, although we could. But, you know, it should be, prison should be the worst hell on earth. Something that you would rather die than to go there. You know, but it's not. I mean, I've never been to prison, so I can't honestly say. But I know people who have been there, and they say, you know, it's not that bad. Especially if you hit you with the right gangs, they'll protect you. You don't have to be a prison bitch. Especially if you're not that good looking anyway. But, you know, if you were in a cell that you never came out of, they don't give you medical attention. As you said, a life sentence would be 5 years. It would be cheaper to run, for one. And, you know, you wouldn't need long terms, you know. Like you said, life would be 5 years. Well, we're sentencing you to 5 years. Well, that ain't no big deal. You don't know where you're going, do you? You know, and then lesser crimes could be even less time. Oh, you stole a car? A year in prison. A year in prison will seem like a lifetime. You won't want to go back. Derek says, I don't think I'd take the chance. I wouldn't. And not good bread either. Generic white bread. There you go. Some trans was in women's prison and he got 2 women. Yeah, I read about that. That's what I'm saying. You know, what the fuck, man? You know? I mean, it was a good scam while they got away with it, but the reality is, it's bullshit. You're born a man, you're going to die a man, whether you got the parts or not. You're still a fucking man, you know. I don't know. There's some crazy shit going on in the world. But like I said, if I were in charge, none of this shit would be happening. You know. I hope you like bologna. Yeah, well, I don't. Not that kind of bologna anyway. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous. I was watching a video the other day and said that Carmelo Anthony said he's dead probably the first week he goes into prison. Unless they protect him. Because he made the mistake of throwing up gang signs. He doesn't belong to any of those gangs. But those gangs are in the prison he's going into. And if you do that, that's a death sentence to pretend you're something you're not. I said, well, you know, it suits me fine. He took a life, he should forfeit his own. I was reading today, I was on the MSN, or MS Now, whatever the hell it's called, news. 3 lifers killed the child killer. They stabbed him to death. And they were proud of themselves for doing it. You know, they went to his cell and he bled out, you know. And Yeah, that's the one we're talking about, Russ. Anyway, so they arrested all three of the men because they were caught on camera. I guess there was a camera in the white child killer's cell. But they were happy that they did what they did. And they were in there for life anyway. So what are you going to do? Give them 2 life sentences? You only got 1 life to give, you know. Now, that's called prison justice, and I don't really have a problem with that. You know, if you take a life, you should forfeit 1. So they're going to be sentenced next week. Like, I don't know what they'll do to them. They'll probably give them, you know, you got 2 life sentences now instead of 1. Big deal. Yeah. What are they going to do? Let you die? Bring you back to life somehow and serve another life sentence? I don't think so. But like I said, if they put people in a cage and left them there where you couldn't, you know, communicate or, you know, be around other people, that in itself would be bad. Can you imagine spending a year in solitary confinement? Well, actually, they did know, Derek, because the third guy didn't actually do it, but one had a shiv, and the other one had a piece of metal that he broke off the back of his TV set that he sliced the guy's throat with. So the 2 that killed him actually got caught on camera doing it. Big deal. Like you said, you're already in there for life. What difference does it make? I call him animal murder, will not use his name. Well, there you go. Well, that's true too. I mean, you know. You're right, Sarton. I'm just saying, you know, look. If you take a life, you should have to forfeit your own, unless it's in real self-defense. And, you know, that idiot tried to claim self-defense. You know, he said, well, no, it'll be self-defense if the white guy was giving you a beat down. You know, he was bigger and probably stronger. But all he did was shove him. That's not, you shouldn't be in fear of your life over a shove. Unless you're on a cliff or something, you know. So obviously the jury didn't, you know. They said that, and they lied and they said there were no blacks on the jury. Apparently there was 1 black in there. You know, the token black, but, and it was unanimous. Every jury member found him guilty of murder. So apparently having a black guy in there didn't make a difference, you know, because I think in order to do I think in murder you have to have a unanimous jury. I don't know, and that doesn't make sense either. Look, if there's 12 jurors and 11 of them say guilty, fuck the guy who said not guilty, you know. I don't know. Like I said, it's just my opinion. You know, then they're trying to say it wasn't racial motivated. I don't know if it was or not. It doesn't matter. You know. I mean, if it were 2 black guys and, you know, Anthony killed another black guy, nobody would have gave a shit. You know. He still would have went to prison. But nobody would have cared. They wouldn't have made a deal out of it. But it shouldn't matter. Race shouldn't make a difference in this. Killer, killee. That's all you need to know. Is there a dead person? Yes. Is the other person the one who killed the dead person? Yes. Enough said. Doesn't matter what their colors are, what their sexes are. Doesn't matter. None of that shit matters. One person's dead and one person's the one who did it. That's all you need to know. You know. Of course, they try and turn it into a race thing, because, you know. And, of course, his parents are running around and go, it ain't fair. He was just defending himself. On what fucking planet? Yeah. And they're mad because he killed a white guy and didn't get away with it. Because, you know, they think they should get away with shit because they're special. Well, you're not. It said the penalty should be the same regardless of your color, your sex, or anything else. You know. That's just me, though. What do I know? Russ says all that animal had to do was remove himself from the track meet tent. He was told several times to leave. Well, yeah, and then I heard too, and I don't know how true it is because some of them bring it up, some of them don't, but he was supposedly on detention for carrying a knife in the first place. I guess he got caught with a knife at an earlier situation. He was sent to the office and they suspended him. So he wasn't even supposed to be on school property while he was under suspension. He couldn't play. So why was he there? You know. I mean, like I said, I don't know if it was racially motivated or not. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. But it doesn't matter to me because I look at it from simple perspective. You killed a man. He's dead. You're not. You're the one who did it. You need to lose your life. That's all there is to it. I don't care about excuses, whether you were in fear or not. You know, I've been shoved many a time. I didn't go out and kill a motherfucker over it. You know, I mean, that's ridiculous. I could probably get away with that now because, you know, I'm old and disabled. And a fall could be detrimental. But, you know, I still wouldn't do it. I mean, like you said, if I was looking at a beatdown, well, yeah, I'm going to kill you first. Because I can't fight, you know, but the young kid, two young kids, you know, are both football players apparently, but one was fairly sizable and the other one was a runt, I guess. But still, and if you're afraid, you don't stand your ground. You stand your ground when you've got a way to defend yourself. You know, like a non-lethal way. You know, well, I was scared. You should have left. Oh, I would have. I had a bunch of big motherfuckers staring me down going, leave or get your ass beat. Going, you have to tell me twice, we'll see you. You know, because they ain't stupid. How do you defend against that? So I'm saying we don't do anything right in this country and people keep getting away with shit. That black guy that killed the white girl on the train to North Carolina. He should have automatically got the death penalty. He hasn't been sentenced yet. I don't think he went to trial yet. I understand he's going to try and claim temporary insanity. Well, duh. That shouldn't be an excuse and it shouldn't have any bearing on what he did. He should get the death penalty. In a just society, he'd have been taken out the next day and strung up or shot. We don't live in a just society anymore. But because he more or less got away with it, it's happened 2 more times. Once in Atlanta, Georgia just recently, and somewhere else, I'm not sure where it was. And both times it was a black person killed a white person. You know, if there's no penalty, they will keep doing it. How fucking hard is that to figure that out? I'm no genius and I figured it out. I just don't get it. What the hell do I know? Anyway, so guess I'm done with the printer for the night. Till I figure out what to print next. I wanted to print a brace for the paint booth underneath of it because there isn't really much holding up that tray. And it'd be nice to fix it. Tom says that animal was from the other school and went in the tent with intent to kill him with a knife and left said knife was not a weapon. Since when is that true? Oh, I know. I've heard all that shit, Tom. And it's all crap. You know, every bit of it is. I honestly believe that he probably thought he was going to get away with it. Because, you know, I'm black. They can't mess with me and blacks do no wrong. And they don't have an issue with blacks as a rule. You know. Everybody's decent until they prove otherwise. the hell was that? But what the hell was that? Oh, a motorcycle. It's kind of weird. You know, I mean, look, it is what it looked like. It's exactly what it looked like. You know, was it really racially motivated? Probably, but we're not allowed to say that. Or maybe it was just Dumb and Dumber, you know. You know, the dumbass with a knife thought he could fucking take on a dumbass that got in his face. I mean, the whole thing was asinine when you get down to it. I mean, it's a basic rule that goes like forever, that you never go into your opponent's tent or room or whatever, because it's like an unwritten rule. And they said it wasn't raining that bad when it happened. It was like drizzling. So, because he tried to say, well, it was raining out there and I want to get wet. Well, I don't know. I'd rather get wet than spend 35 years in prison. Russ says, behaviors always continue when there's no accountability. Look at the dumb book. Oh, that's true. And it really is. Like I said, if there's no punishment, you'll keep on doing it. You know. Let your dog shit in the carpet in the living room. If you don't discipline him, he'll continue to do it. You know. If you discipline him, I don't mean beating the hell out of a dog or anything, but you can, you know, do whatever it takes to retrain the dog. He'll learn and he'll understand that, okay, I'm not supposed to do this in here. Dogs are smarter than some people. You know, but once again, there has to be a penalty for what you do. There should always be a what's the word? Can't think of the word. There should always have to be a consequence for what you do, whether it be good or bad. If you did something good, there should be a good consequence. Did something bad, there should be a bad consequence. Life in general operates on that principle. I mean, most of us, you know, boomers, we grew up with that. If you do good things will come back to you. If you do bad things, well, you're fucked. You know, that's why a lot of us don't do bad things, because, you know, we don't want to be fucked. How hard is this to figure out? What is accountability? I think they do not know. They don't know what the word exists. You're probably right. Well, because they've been getting away with too much for too long. Oh, you're black, it's okay, you get a pass. I don't care what color you are. If you commit a crime, the penalty should be the same regardless of your color. And you can't claim racism because, you know, the white guy gets the same penalty as the black guy and vice versa. And that's the way it should be. Yeah, that's why, you know, I did a video, a wise guy video the other day. I actually did 2 of them in a row, or 3 of them actually. But the last 2 I covered this guy. And he says, you know, if the blacks were smart, and some of them are, and they're starting to do it. Maybe they watched my video, I don't know. If the blacks were smart, they would start confronting the bad eggs in their society, you know, the N guys. Because there's blacks and then there's the N words, you know. I can't say it on here for obvious reasons. If we were on Rumble, I would, because I don't give a shit. But the blacks need to police their own. We police our own. If we see a white guy doing something stupid and illegal, if it's within our power, we'll put a stop to it one way or the other. We either call the cops or handle it ourselves. We don't just, he's white, he's one of us, so he can do what he wants. See, with the blacks, on the other hand, that's the way they think. Well, you know, he's a brother, so he can do what he wants because, you know, we stick with our own. The problem is that's making them all look bad. And they're not all bad. There's a lot of blacks out there, decent people. But with idiots like this guy, does his shit, and then people stand up and try to back him up, it makes the whole bunch of them look bad. And I'll tell you what would happen. If a race war breaks out, it ain't going to end well for you guys. You represent 13% of the population. You'll be wiped out inside of 6 weeks. Because, the whites, we don't fuck around. We know how to hunt. We know how to shoot. Won't be pulling this, sideways gun crap on you. We see you, we will kill you. One shot, one kill. How long do you think you'll last? And the problem with that, of course, is if a race war does break out, we're not going to know who the good ones are. Oh, that guy's black, kill him. Because, at that point, we're going to figure all of them possibly could be the enemy. Even though they're not. Except for people like you personally knew. But if you saw, 3 blacks on the street, 2 of them were hood rats, but the other one wasn't, but you didn't know that, you won't kill all 3 of them because you don't want to take a chance. So, they're making it bad for their own by not policing their own. And they need to start now. Fortunately, some of them are doing it. I was watching a video the other day. It was a black woman, and she came out and said, look, she says, and she didn't spare it. She used the N-word, She says, you need to cut your shit out because you're making it bad for all of us. And it ain't right, and you don't get a pass, and all you are is a fucking, N-word. And we're tired of this shit. So, And that's good. It's good that some of them are coming out and saying, enough's enough. Tom says one big problem is 60 to 80% of black families have no father. I agree. In the home, and when they look up to the rappers, which are all criminals, and they think that's the real life, you're probably right. And that's another problem, And once again, and that's kind of our fault because of the way the whole free shit works. It's a lot easier to get food stamps if you're a single mom. It's a lot easier to get welfare if you're a single mom. We should be doing it the opposite. You want help? Get your old man out here and make him become, an active family member. And if we did that, you'd see more fathers and mothers working together. I don't think we should give them any free shit, period. But, and not if they're capable of working. But we should not actually reward a single motherhood. And that's what we're doing, My wife said, if we weren't married, I can get more help than I can get now. I said, well, yeah, but it ain't right, And I says, it's still cheating the system how you look at it. But she's correct. A single woman, regardless of color, but especially if you're black, will get more benefits and more free shit than a married woman will. And that's what we need to change. And of course, this whole thing with child support's a problem too. See that one guy who's a movie star, I guess, of sorts? Big black guy. He was just in the news today. He got sentenced to prison for failure to pay child support. He said, look, I don't have any money. Well, putting him in prison isn't going to help him any. But I don't know how you deal with that. I mean, I had to pay support after I got divorced, which was kind of bullshit too, because, turns out most of the money I gave my ex-wife never made it to the kids. And, I was like, well, wait a minute, is it child support or is it spousal support? Because the kids weren't seeing any of that. And, when they grew up, they said, well, yeah, we had to do without a lot of stuff because mom never gave us, this or that, gave us decent clothes because she was pissing the money away on drinking and drugs and everything else. And it's like, well, that's bullshit, And one of the reasons why I didn't want to pay it to begin with, because I knew what would happen, But I didn't have the clout behind me. This one guy did. About the time I was getting busted for all that shit. He went in there, I guess he was rich, and he said, look, he says, I got no problem with paying child support, but I want every dime accounted for. Every dime. And the judge went along with it. So now every time, because he was paying out big money, I guess, but she had to prove where every dollar went and had to go for them kids. She couldn't spend it on her own dresses or drinking or drugs or buying a new car. No, she wasn't allowed to do any of that shit. Had to be for the kids. And I got no problem with that because, that's only right anyway. But, you know. But this is part of the problem why there's a lot of single black mothers out there, too. Because they go after the fathers and, well, I ain't paying for that fucking kid. I don't even know if that kid mine. That bitch fucking everything she see. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. But, we should cut them off if they don't stay married to somebody or get married to somebody. They shouldn't get any assistance at all. And whatever happened to the old adage, you want to eat, you got to work. Real artist says, household chores suck. Took me away for Tedesco time. What have I missed? Oh, you were gone all the time. Hey, we all got to do the chores every now and then. I got sucked into the cooking dinners lately. I hate cooking, really, but I'm good at it, but I just don't like doing it. What have I... Well, we were talking a little about trains, and then we jumped into black murderers and other stupid shit. So I was trying to steer us back into trains, but I didn't have any luck. I tried, though, So, I don't know. Like I said, it's just... There's so many problems in this country, and they can easily be solved. They really can. But we have to be firm, And that's the way I was brought up. I mean, my parents were strict. They weren't crazy strict, but we didn't do a lot of shit we see today. If I'd have cussed my parents, well, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. I'm sure I would be, but I didn't think so at the time. Every now and then. Like all the damn time. Well, that's true, unfortunately. Hey, what are you going to do, though, So, I mean, we didn't turn out bad for it. We turned out responsible, I like to think I'm mostly responsible, Every now and then I get, stupid and do something dumb, but for the most part, though, I mean, I've done all the things you're supposed to do. I'm still struggling with resistor wheels, changed my process a bit, going to see if that makes a difference. Well, I thought they were working good, though. Didn't you have that down to a science? I watched your video. I got a couple of videos. I don't know if you want me to send them to you, I can, but shows you how to do resistor wheels from somebody else's perspective. I watched them once, I don't remember them. They're a few years old. So, Russ says, I have tons of chores every day. I have my own honey-do list created by me. There you go. Well, you live alone, don't you, Russ? That's different, too, when you're alone, I mean, there's things... You have to do the things, We all do. Captain Ray says, these kids nowadays fear nobody. They call it child abuse now. I know. They all need a good ass kicking. I've been saying that since I was a teenager, And I raised my kids the way I was raised, We were fair, but we were strict. I mean, we didn't put up with you. If my kids would have cussed me out, I'd probably be in jail now, I'd have beat the hell out of them, They knew better. Just as I knew better. I'd never cuss my parents out, That was like a death sentence. So I wasn't going to put up with my kids either, and as far as I know, they don't put up with theirs. So hopefully it, because I learned a long time ago that, if you don't rule with a strong, I can't think of the word now, a strong something or another, that you'll wind up turning out what we're seeing out there today, These kids, they never heard the word no. They throw fits if they don't get their way. My youngest son, the one that's trans now or whatever the hell he is, when he was 2 years old, he didn't talk. Not because he couldn't, because he didn't want to. It was better to go, ooh, ooh, ooh. Well, I had him after all because he was having problems with his mother. So I took him and I said, well, I'll get him to talk eventually. So he'd be in the kitchen. I knew what he wanted, He wanted a snack or something was up in the cabinet. Nah, you got to ask for what you want. And after he did it, well, he figured I wasn't going to give it to him, so he'd throw his tantrum. He'd get on the floor and, scream and yell and throw himself around and shit, and I just laugh at him, And it went on for a couple of weeks, and I finally got fed up, and, he did it one too many times. I got him, I beat his fucking ass. And he didn't do it after that, and he started talking. So he just needed a little bit of, reinforcement there to speak what he wanted. And that's the way I would have been brought. That's why I was brought up. We didn't do shit like that. But if we did, that's probably how it would have been handled, I got the belt more times than I can count. And my mother used to throw shit at us. The wooden spoons, anything that wouldn't actually seriously hurt us. Shoes, plates every now and then. Melmac so they couldn't break. Russ says, I am married, Jim. Wife works 40, 50 hours a week. Have lots of chores and responsibilities and never complain. Well, she's working, I guess, that's okay, I guess. It's not my place to judge or say good or bad, but I mean, if you're happy with it, that's all that matters, Whatever works for you. In my case, I'm retired, my wife's retired. She expects me to do everything, but I ain't doing it. I do some things, And because I do have a disability, it's hard to do everything, I don't clean house. I don't mess up the house, therefore I don't clean the house. But I do on occasion refill the dog's water bowls. We have a water filter, I fill that every now and then, and I do what I can when I see it, But I don't kill myself to get anything done either. Russ says, I agree, my wife is handicapped, so I'm willing to do what is necessary. Oh, there you go, see? So you're taking care of... Oh, that's real artist, yeah. That's what I'm saying, I don't have a problem with that, Pardon the misspelling. Not a problem, man. Like I said, I'm not judging or complaining, but I'm saying that I think as boomers, we do a better job of raising children, taking our responsibility seriously, and stepping up when we need to. Wife always says, she says, well, what happens when I can't do anything? You going to take care of me? I said, well, I guess. Ain't nobody else going to do it. Well, how are you going to do it? I said, I don't know. I'll figure it out, And I will, because that's just the way it goes. But she's actually in better shape than I am. And I don't really worry about her getting into a bind, but, But, like I said, we all do what we got to do. But, see, now, me and her, we are 180 degrees opposed on child rearing. She doesn't believe in physical, discipline. I do. And consequently, all her kids are fucked up except for Alexandra. And the only reason Alexandra isn't fucked up because I use physical discipline on her. I didn't abuse it, but she got what she got when she needed it. And it made a difference, I said the first time when me and Deb first got together, me, her, and her daughter was only 2 years old at the time, Alexandra. And we were grocery shopping, and she went off to do some things, and I had Alexandra with me. And next thing I know, the kids running up and down the aisles, ripping shit off the shelves. I want this, I want that. No, this ain't gonna work. You better knock it out right now. I will beat your ass right here, right now. You can't do that. You ain't my dad. Watch me. So I did. I grabbed her and paddled her ass. Some old lady come around the fucking corner, give me a dirty look, and I looked at her and says, you want to be next, mind your own fucking business. I swear to God, that's exactly what I did and said. And from that point on, that kid didn't do that shit in the stores anymore. Because she knew there was a consequence. Problem is, her mom never did anything about it. Because her mom didn't believe in discipline. We just got to talk to them. No, they don't understand that. Or they do understand it. Figured, Ain't hurting me none. What do I care? You know. The same thing with, with a lot of these blacks, unfortunately. They want to hold the parents responsible for what their kids do. Well, that ain't going to work. The kids don't give a shit about nothing as it is. They go, all right, so I fuck up and you're going to arrest my parents. Good deal. They go out and fuck up more just to watch their parents get arrested. They don't care. It ain't going to fix nothing. I mean, granted, the parents are guilty of not disciplining their children, but holding them responsible for what their kids do without the kids suffering any doesn't actually solve any problems. And for some reason, they don't understand that. I do. So, I mean, my kids all grew up pretty good. I mean, like I said, I lost my son. Unfortunately, that's because, I'll just say he made a bad choice for a wife. She wound up killing him. But, well, except for Skylar, he's the youngest, and that was probably my fault because I wasn't around enough in his life because the mom wanted to be with him. She wanted to be a single mom, and, we lived far apart, so I said, well, but, Russ says, we started a family in our late 30s. Our kids are in mid-20s and are great kids. And absolutely, All right, good night, Real Artist. Thanks for popping in, man. Been a long day for the old fart. Take care, stay safe, play with your trains. Absolutely, man. We'll see you next week, Real Artist. You gotta come in early, though. That's when we really talk about the trains, and then it degenerates later on. So if you want to hear the train stuff, you gotta come in early. Anyway, have a good night, Rail Artist, and be safe, and you play with your trains, too. So, yeah, I mean, there's no argument here, I raised my kids the way I was raised, and in some ways even a little better, but we had rules, My kids made a mistake. They got yelled at, sometimes grounded, but not really seriously in trouble. If they did it a second time, then the belt came out. Now you know. The first time you could say you were ignorant and didn't know. But after the first time, now you know you did it again just because you're stupid and you don't care. Well, now you're going to get the belt. And that's the way we did things, And consequently, kids never lied to me either. They knew better. Because that was one thing, my parents instilled, if you lie to me, I'll find out and I'll make your life hell. That's what my mother used to tell me. But we didn't lie to her, because it was too risky. and damn sure didn't lie to my dad, because if you did, well, he was really a non-violent person, but still, if you pushed him, the belt came off. So, I taught my kids the same way. I don't care what you did, how bad it was, but you got to tell me the truth. We'll figure it out, If it's real bad, well, there's going to be a punishment, but, that's the consequences for your actions. They knew and understood that, and they were kind of okay with it. So, it is what it is, but, and like I said, the state, I got busted for child abuse once, and both me and the wife did. Not because we abused the kids, but because we pissed off a cop, and I beat him out of a traffic ticket, and he was pissed off, and he swore he was going to get even, and he did. And they came up with some trumped up charges about, abusing my daughter. Not sexually, but, just not raising her correctly or something, and they took my girls away, And it took us a year to get them back. We did, because we proved we were innocent. And, I brought hell down on the entire fucking state of Florida. As a matter of fact, my name's in the law books. I was the first and only one at that time that ever beat HRS, which was Child Services. Because what they were doing was illegal. It was bullshit. And I caught them doing the very same things they were accusing me of. And when I went to court the final time, I had all my evidence, threw it down on the judge's bench, said, you need to look at this. Was this a bribe? I said, no, sir. It's proof of what I'm saying, and you'd be wise to listen to it and look at it. I guess you did, because the next day when we went to court, case dismissed, give these people their kids back and leave them alone. And we did. We finally won, but cost me $10,000 in legal fees. Fucking lawyers were useless. But we won because we were in the right. And this is the problem. And I still haven't changed. I mean, because I had to go through parenting class and all that shit. And I remember confronting the fucking counselor because, you're never supposed to lay a hand on your children. Well, how do you discipline them then? Oh, you just talk to them and give them 5-minute timeouts. I said, you a moron? She says, what do you mean? I says, you're a moron. How many kids do you have? Well, I don't have any kids. And how the fuck do you know? And I did. I backed her up against the wall and I said, look, if you don't have any children, you have no real life experience raising children. How in the hell do you think you have the right to dictate to the rest of us who actually have kids how we should raise them? Have a kid and find out. And the funny thing was, after we beat them, my wife had my first son, and ex-wife, and she was in the hospital the same time this caseworker was having her babies. She had twins. So I stepped in the room and I said, well, look what we got here. I says, I hope you raise them kids right, because you know what? I'll be there. I'll be watching every minute of every day, and the minute you fuck up, I will rain hell down on you. Scared her so bad she started crying. Then I left. I never bothered. I didn't give a shit after that, but I just wanted to, throw a little scare into her, and it did. I said, payback's a bitch, and now you're going to get yours. And I bet you money, she found out real quick that her counseling would not work on her children. It won't work on any kid. The only way kids will respect your authority and your parental love is if you discipline them. They expect it from you to a certain degree. They don't want to be abused, obviously, but, And I've raised other kids. I've been with 2 other women since I got divorced. And I had kids, and I raised those kids. And they call me dad. I'm not their father, but, they just said, we're glad you were there. And they all grew up good. Law-abiding, respectful, hard-working people. And unfortunately, only one of the mothers was sympathetic to what I was doing. The other one was kind of like my wife. Oh, you should never hit them because that ain't good. I says, well, we'll see. And it turned out I was right in the way I did things, so. They've been raising kids like this for thousands of years. This is nothing new. The new shit is, sit them in a corner for 5 minutes. That's like, 5 minutes it's a blink of an eye to a kid. They don't care. You stood in the corner for 5 minutes. Actually, they make them stand. They put them in a chair so they could sit down and be comfortable. When I was a kid, we went to the corner, we had to stand there and face the wall. Weren't allowed to fidget or talk or make any noise or nothing, because if you did, time would get added on to that. And it was never 15 minutes, 5 minutes anyway. It was like a fucking hour, And it sucked. And we didn't like it, so we didn't mess up after that, because you want to go back in that corner. Even in school, they had the dunce caps. They still had them when I was in elementary school. I never had to wear one, thank God, because I didn't get stupid till middle school. But I remember seeing, kid was disrupting the class, sitting on a stool with a dunce cap, facing the corner, and that's where he sat for the whole 1 hour class period, And did he fuck up the day after? Not usually. Yeah. So, I mean, these ways are tried and true. They worked. And if you raise your kids right anyway, you don't have to beat them. You know, I didn't have to beat mine. You know, it was mild discipline, but it was early on, so they got the idea real quick. You know, my oldest April, when she started crawling, you know, of course she was curious. My ex-wife had all these, you know, glass figurines and stuff, and they were within reach of a crawling kid. And, you know, every time she touched them, we'd slap her hand. No, you can't touch that. It's not yours, you know. And she learned right off the bat, she had her toys she could play with, but she couldn't play with mommy's toys. And it wasn't a problem, you know, where, you know, like my ex-wife's mother said, why don't you just take that stuff out of their reach? Well, that doesn't teach them nothing, you know. And why should we interrupt our lives rather than teaching our children what they can and cannot touch? That's why me and my mother-in-law never got along, I guess. But, you know, she didn't like me at all. Not that I gave a shit. But, you know. I don't know. Now that I'm an old man, it doesn't matter because all my kids are grown. My grandkids, some of them are already having babies. I said I got great grandkids already. I think 4 of them. You know. And I hardly ever see them because, you know, we don't live in the same area. It kind of sucks in a way, but then again, think of the money I'm saving on not having to buy all those gifts. Because I don't have the money anyway, you know. I can barely take care of my own problems without having to deal with somebody else's. I said, I've got so many kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. If I had to buy presents, I'd never have money for any of my hobbies. You know. Just the way it goes. So anyway. Yeah, I thought the battery was going bad on my rechargeable Dremel. I think the brushes are going bad, and I don't know, I gotta take this thing apart and see if the brushes are replaceable on it. Because when I put it on high, it sounds good, but it's got no power. When I put it on low, it actually has more power than when it's on high. I usually use this like to cut track sections and stuff, because it's handy being rechargeable. I thought the battery was going bad in it, but I was using it yesterday to cut some track with, and it was really running slow, and I'm thinking, oh shit, I just charged the damn battery. I was getting ready to, you know, give it up, and I got a wired one in my case. I was going to get that one. And before I could turn this off, all of a sudden it like doubled the speed. I go, that's a brush issue there, I'm pretty sure. So, or lubrication, it might need to be lubed. I don't know, but I don't know if any of you guys have one. This is a Dremel. It's a rechargeable model. It's a, my wife bought this for me a long time ago. It's a model 7700. And it's got these fancy little batteries. I'm on my second set of batteries already. But this thing's actually been handy. It's gotten a lot of use. So I said it's probably due for some brushes. There's 2 screws that hold the cover on. I'll have to pull that cover off, and I'm sure it gives access to the brushes. And I have spare brushes for the powered one. I imagine they're the same on this one. I don't know. But even then, I'm sure I can get them somewhere. Because I really like this thing. It doesn't have quite as much power as a wired one does, but it does the job. So, pretty handy tool. And that's true, Derek, but I don't have the manual. I never keep manuals, you know. I look at them, in the trash they go, you know. Same thing when I buy something. They offer you that, you know, extended warranty at the store. Nope, don't want it. Okay, it's only $3. I don't care, I don't want it. So, I mean, I could get online and look up the model number and find a parts list for it. That's what I'm saying. That stuff's all accessible now. You just got to do a little, you know, research into it, and you just go to the website. Have you used your cordless airbrush? Yeah, well, I haven't used it in about a month, but it works great. I really like it. It was money well spent. And when I start doing, how am I going to use it on that? Well, I want to paint these model cars and train cars and all that. And especially when I change the paint scheme on my locomotives, I'll be using that airbrush. So I'll let you know. We'll probably do some, some how-to videos on it, while I'm doing that. And that'll be down the road a ways, a few months down the road before I get around to doing it. But yeah, I really like it. I'll tell you what, I got the compressor and I've got, the regular airbrush, but realistically, the cordless is the way to go. And the nice thing about it is, like you said, eventually I want to weather the, I don't know what you call them, what elevator rail is it, what sits on, the girders. I want to weather that all the way around. With a wireless, cordless, it'll be a lot easier to do. I just got to find the right paint and get the setting right to do it. Like you said, rust marks and stuff like that. So same thing when I was painting the track too. Most of my track is painted, but I had to change some sections. So I need to rust the rails up a little bit, the sides. That cordless will be perfect for that. So, the way to do it. Yes, the motor brushes are change blade on a Dremel 7700. The tool utilizes consumer replaceable carbon brushes. I'm sure these are worn down. Like I said, I've had this thing, I think, I'm trying to think of how long she bought me that when I was back in Naples. So I've been here going on 6 years now, or a little over 6 years. I think she bought that for maybe 10 years ago. And like I said, most of what I use on this is the quick change blades, the quick change cutting wheels, which are nice too. And that's another thing, what they call them, the easy change or whatever. I can't even remember how to fucking do it now, but these things are nice though. I mean, they're quick change cutting wheels. See them right there. As a matter of fact, I'm on my second arbor for the quick change. I wore the first one out. So this thing, and you can tell, I mean, it's not even gray anymore. It's like a brownish. I can't really see it with the lighting, but it's all discolored. It's got a lot of use on it. That's from the net, and it links to Amazon and a YouTube video on how to do it. Oh, doing it's easy enough. And like I said, if it takes the same brushes as my powered one, I've got an extra set of brushes. I'll know when I tear into it whether it does or not. And if it doesn't, I'm sure I can just order the brushes, probably from Amazon. So, but thanks for looking, Derek. I appreciate that. So yeah, because like I said, I'm on my second set of batteries. If I need another set, I'll buy them. And I would never. The only way I would throw that tool away is if I fried the motor, and that's not likely to happen. Now my power Dremel, I've had that for about 20 years. And I just bought a cheap one from Harbor Freight. It was $6. And it's a 12 volter. Or 12 volt? No, it's a 5 volt. It's real cheap, but for bench work, it's handy to have. You can leave it plugged in, and it's right there. It's $13.37 on Amazon for 4 with the spring. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. I'll have to, if you want, if you got the link handy, send me the link, would you? But hey, because I think she paid almost $100 for that tool. It wasn't cheap. And like I said, when she bought me, I was like, holy shit, I could really use this, because I was using a wired one, and a wired one works better, but it's a pain in the ass. You had to find a place to plug it in. Where this one, take it wherever you're going. I use it outside. I've used it on all kinds of things. So, but I like this camcorder. I bought this on eBay, Evil Bay as you guys like to call it, and it's got this big ass battery. It slides off of it. It came with 2 batteries, but the other one's already shot, and this one probably will be. Of course, putting it back in is a little tricky. And it's going to give me grief to put it back in, right? Should have left it in there. I'm doing something wrong here. Okay. Yeah, you said the blind man. There you go. Got 2 different slots. You got to set them in the right place. And this one still works, but it'll only hold the charge for about 40 minutes. Now the original, like I said, when the batteries were new, it would hold the charge for like almost 2 hours. So, but I still use it. I could use the phone, but the problem with the phone is you always get that long vertical picture. With that, you get a nice, wide picture. So I'd rather use that, to be honest. But at least I tend to take fairly good care of my tools. They'll get beat up, but I'll still keep them in good working shape. And no matter how hard I try, they still get beat up. I mean, only because I let my wife use them. Nah, that's not true, but some of it is. But it is what it is. So I don't know. Well, guys, it's a little after 9 o'clock. I think I'm gonna call it a night. Bobo, you ready to go home, are you? Ready to go home? I don't know. Tail's wagging, so I guess he is. Gotta wait yet. We're not done yet. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me tonight. As usual, we had fun. We talked about all kinds of weird shit. Tried to stay on track with trains, but you know how that works. But I guess that's what we do. Will I have anything new to show you next week? Hopefully. Don't know what, but hopefully it'll be something. I'd like to get started putting in that motor, man. I'm gonna... Well, you can't see it, but... On here on the left side where this panel is, I think I'm going to put it in there. And I know me and Tom talked about it, so there's 2 ways I can run the wires. I could either run them on the floor, which I'd rather not, or I could build a little, like, a tower to run them across that I could duck under. And that might be the best way to do it. So, because I have to go to both sides of the layout. You get one sensor on this side, one sensor on that side. But I'd like to get that operational. Of course, the problem I got now is I still need a transformer to power the trains, because I could run the Amtrak P42 along with the one on the main line. It doesn't affect it too much, but it does slow both of them down, because like I said, I'm just not getting enough juice. So we'll see. Anyway, before I go yakking my head off, Tom says, Jim, maybe next year when I go to Amherst, I could pick up your other... Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Derek says, great show, Big Jim. Pleasure to chat with all of you guys. I'll say here. Yeah, we'll get it all figured out eventually. It's just time consuming, and you guys are always helpful, which is great. I hope I help you as much, half as much as you help me, but I do what I can. Anyway, I'm gonna call it tonight. Gonna put the outro up. Don't forget to flip off the signal guy. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Who knows what the hell I'll talk about then. Chuck says, thank you, Jim. Another awesome show. Take care all and have a great weekend. Oh yeah, all have a great weekend. Be safe. Play with your trains. Stay away from them damn tornadoes, man. Those things are nasty. Alright guys, we'll see you.